advise against it.
The Ramseys also released images of JonBenét to the media, hoping to elicit sympathy. But instead of images like these, of the girl next door, they presented JonBenét as a coached, coiffed, competitive little showgirl.
My name is JonBenét Lucy, and I'm second.
These shots of a 6-year-old beauty queen in makeup and sequins were lurid enough to turn a local tragedy into a worldwide obsession. They also helped turn the public against the Ramseys.
We demonized her as the horrible mother. She put her daughter at risk. She sexualized her daughter in beautifying her. And this is what happened.
Psychotherapist and best-selling author Robbie Ludwig writes frequently about how criminals are perceived by society.
Given what happened to her, it kind of raises everybody's fears and judgment. How can you put your daughter up there and make her vulnerable?
But could there have been a less sinister reason Patsy wanted to spend more time with her daughter?
People don't realize Patsy had stage 4 cancer at the time that she was putting JonBenét in these pageants. So in her mind, if she didn't do it now, she may not get to do it when JonBenét was 15.
The media seemed eager to portray the Ramseys as monsters who served up their daughter to pedophiles. Journalist Michael Tracy has followed the JonBenét story from the day it broke.
This story was so good. It was so good for ratings. It was so good for the bottom line. It was so good for circulation. Don't screw with it.
TV stations replayed the videos over and over.
Keeping the focus on the pageant videos was a way of reiterating the argument that the Ramseys sexualized their daughter. And that fitted the narrative that somehow they were involved.
6 days after JonBenét's death, John and Patsy went on television for the first time to tell their side of the story.
There is a killer on the loose. I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's a he or a she.
To some people, Patsy's sleepy, almost drugged appearance and tone of voice damaged her credibility.
Some of the cues that I would typically identify for nervousness didn't exist. There was some strangeness to that, and I think that's one of the things that worked against the Ramseys in terms of our perception.
Patty Wood is a nationally acclaimed expert on body language.
What is the first impression that the Ramseys give to the public, in your estimation?
She would often look at him to see how he was saying something or how he was responding to something.
Wood says John Ramsey's demeanor didn't help their cause either.
He looked down, I believe I counted, over 100 times during that very short interview. Really unusual. Typically we look down in shame, we look down in embarrassment, we look down when we want to hide something.
I wanted him to face the public and just say, I didn't do this.
I didn't do it. Let's find the killer. That's what we wanted them to say.
People said you weren't mad enough.
The public has an expectation of how you should be, and he didn't match up. And it made us not believe him.
Instead, the Ramseys talked about how unfair the police and press had been to them. That, says Patty Wood, lost them a lot of support. All these missteps only fed the media circus and strengthened law enforcement's single-minded focus on the Ramseys.
Sunday, December 29th. 30 Boulder officers are now working the case.
Next, a
scoured. I mean, they have talked with my 4th grade teacher, my, friends from elementary school. There is no history of any kind of activity like this. We did not, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
After nearly 30 years studying people's body language, Patty Wood is pretty sure she can tell when someone is lying.
One of the things that was really striking for me was her body language is very synchronous. She makes some very adamant, strong gestures, forceful. You'll notice that the gesture comes first, the words come later, indicating the honesty of the statement.
No matter what they did, investigators couldn't get the Ramseys to change their story. And as the flow of information from police department sources slowed